Hey everybody, it's Carmel here. Welcome to my channel. I have a video today that's part of my top 5 tips series. And for this top 5 tips, we're going to go a little bit different because we're going to talk all things digital crafting. And more specifically, how to print and get top quality prints with whatever type of printer you have at home. Before we get into it, guys, I just want to mention that I'm not affiliated with any of the products or brands that I mention in this video. I haven't been asked or paid by Epson to promote or review any of their products. I'm just sharing my own opinions based on my own experience. So you might be thinking, how did a hardcore paper lover like me ever go digital? And it happened years and years ago. I came across a Canadian scrapbooking company, a digital scrapbooking company called Knitwits, and I fell in love with their collections and their designs. They're a small family business, their husband and wife team, and I just fell in love with their designs. So I bought a few of their collections, and I had a very basic printer at home, so I just printed away and then bought a few more collections from other companies. The results weren't fantastic, it was okay, but I always kind of assumed that if I want better results, you'd have to have a much better printer. So for a long time, I was kind of on the fence about investing in a high-end printer. You know, I read a lot of reviews and things like that. And I was very close to buying one because I knew I loved paper and I would be only too happy if I could get really great results at home. So then on the Knitwits website, I came across a tips video that the husband, I can't remember his name, we'll call him Mr. Knitwit, but they shared that on their channel and they talked about paper and how to tweak your printer and get better results. So I tried that out. I had a go and I got some decent photo paper and tweaked my printer and then printed out. And that was just a game changer. I was so glad then that I hadn't bought a fancy printer because I couldn't believe the results I was able to get. So I'm going to share everything with you that I've learned, and hopefully I can take you on the same journey today that I went on and discovered a whole new world of paper and digital printing. So in a couple of minutes, I'm going to take you out to my computer and I'm going to walk you step by step how to actually change the settings on your printer. And if you're not techie and you're thinking, Carmel, I'm not sure, trust me, it's very easy when you know how. And it's not difficult at all. You don't need to have a fancy printer. You don't need to be technical minded at all. I'm going to make it very easy for you and show you how to do it. So tip number one, guys, we're going to talk about paper just for a second because I know we want to get to the good stuff, but the paper is really, really important. So there's lots of papers out there on the market, and I know that even some of the craft companies have their own line of papers for that's specifically for digital printing, for stamp printing and all that kind of thing. But my number one paper when it comes to printing my digital craft is this. This is the one that Knitwits recommended themselves. It's Epson matte photo paper. It comes in lots of different varieties. Like you can get the gloss or the semi-gloss photo paper, but this is the one for me. I've tried lots and lots of papers when it comes to digital printing, but ever since I started using this, I don't go back to any of the others because this is it. I get mine on Amazon, and depending on sales and things like that on Amazon, it works out at about €15 per pack. So you get 50 sheets in a pack. So that means your paper is about 30 cents per A4 sheet. We'll talk a little bit more about the cost of digital printing later on in the video. For now, I just wanted to emphasize how important the paper is that you're printing and how much of an impact it has when it comes to printing. Tip number two, guys, you might think that your printer and your ink is everything, and I'm here to tell you it's not. My printer is about 8 years old, it possibly even more. It's an old Epson XP21 something. It was one of the earlier Epson XPs that they brought out. I bought it in the supermarket. Like, that's how low end my printer is. I think it cost me, I think I paid about €30 or something like that. It's not fancy in any way. I don't buy branded ink either. I buy generic ink from an online company based here in Ireland. There's tons of companies out there that sell ink. If you go on one of the ink shop websites online and type in your printer type, they will have the ink, the branded ink, and then beside it they will usually have their own generic version of that ink, and you can try that out. I have used the expensive branded ink in the past, but the generic ink is every bit as good once you know what to do with your printer. So that's tip number two, guys. You don't need a super expensive printer and you don't need super expensive ink. So I splurge a little bit more on the paper and I save more on the ink. That's how it works out for me. So we're going to get to the good stuff. Tip number three, I'm going to take you out to my computer and show you how to change the settings on your printer and how I go about doing that. So before we go there, guys, just to give you a heads up, my computer is almost as old as I am. Okay, so that's how untechnical I am. And I also like to, when I'm printing digital, I like to use the word processor rather than the printer software. And I'll explain more about why I do that when I'm doing it. So I use the Windows operating system and it's Microsoft Office, but it's an ancient version of Microsoft Office. So don't die of shock when you see it on the screen, okay? So I've got a blank Word document open on my screen here, and the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the margins off so that I can use all of the paper. I'm going to leave a very small margin around all of the sides just so that my ink, when I'm printing, my ink won't go off the side of the page. I'm going to open my digital collection and I'm going to pick a paper. We'll go with this one here, and I'm going to drag and drop it down onto my Word document. So when I first put it on the document, it's going to be huge like this, and I don't want it that big, so I'm going to just scale it down to whatever size I want on the page. And go a little bit smaller than that. There we go. So then if I want more of it, I'm just going to copy and paste it. And there we are. So now I have this gap here and I don't want to waste any of my paper, but if I paste it again, it's not going to fit and it's going to automatically transfer it down here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy it and I'm going to paste it temporarily underneath here. And then I'm going to crop it. I'm going to crop it on this side because if I crop it on this side, and then I paste it up here, it's not going to match, and I want it to be seamless. I want the design to look like it's all being printed on one sheet. I'm just going to use my crop tool, and then I'm going to copy and paste again, back up here, and there we are. And I'm going to delete this one down here because I don't need it. So I now have the full sheet printed, if I like, in this paper. And let's say I want more, all I have to do is just copy and paste it again underneath. And paste it again, and then copy and paste the small one again because I already know that that's perfect for the page. And that's it. That's all there is to it. This is why I like to use my Microsoft Office to print rather than my printer software, because I'm sure you can do all this resizing on your printer software, but I'm not very techy, so I just find this way much easier. This is one of the biggest advantages, I think, for me of digital printing, because when it comes to resizing, I love my 6x6 pads. I have tons of them in my stash, but I could literally count on one hand the amount of them I have that I've used every paper in the pad. I usually just buy them because I want the smaller print, and I end up not using them all then because I just want the papers that I like. The other thing as well with 6x6 pads is that if you're making dimensional projects, like you're making your tote bags or gift boxes or that kind of thing, they tend to take 2 sheets per project. So you're limited by the pad in what you can make. If you want to make more of in the same print, you're going to have to buy more paper pads, and they're going to have to take up more space in your craft room. So for me, that's a great thing about digital. You only have to print what you like. And I think that's a great offset as well against the cost of, when you factor in the cost of printing your ink and your paper and all that kind of thing. You're saving also because you're not paying for papers that you're not going to use. You don't have to buy a whole new 6x6 pad for 3 or 4 sheets of the paper. You can print as much of your favorite papers as you like. The other thing I love is that you can scale your projects to match. So say you make a large card or a large gift box project or something like that, and you want a nice little tag in the matching paper, then you can just print the smaller size and have everything matching, which is really nice. Especially if you're batch making, if you're making a lot of Christmas tags or things like that, you can just print away to your heart's content in whatever size you like. So I love that about Digi. So to print then, like I said earlier, I don't use my printer software. I'm going to use Microsoft software here to print, and I'm sure whatever system you have, it's similar. They're all kind of generic. When you go to print, you're going to get something appearing on your screen like this. So I'm going to go into properties. The first thing I'm going to do is change the paper. I'm going to click Epson matte. Here I'm going to go into best photo, and I'm going to click on advanced. Now don't panic, okay, because it's not advanced at all. I promise you, trust me, it's not advanced. So I clicked on advanced, and I'm just going to click on color controls here. Whatever software you have, it will have this option when it comes to printing. So I'm in color controls here, and I'm going to click on settings. Now, these 4 settings here are what's going to make all the difference. If I hadn't clicked on this settings, on this color control, they will be left at 0, and that will just give us a standard print. I have spent, I won't tell you how much time when I discovered this. how much time I spent playing around with these settings. But the sweet spot for me is 5, 3, 7, and 12. Don't ask me why, it just works, okay? You don't need to understand why, it just works. You can play around with your own settings if you like. The only thing you really need to know is that this is what makes the difference to the quality of your print. It's nothing really to do with your printer or the type of ink you're using. At least in my experience, I'm sure there's people out there who will probably argue with me and say something differently, but this is what's worked for me in the past. So this is the system that I stick with. 5, 3, 7, and 12. They're the magic numbers. I know them off the top of my head. I do so much printing that I don't even need to look it up anymore. So I'm just going to double check that I have my Epson mat. You can take off this high speed printing as well if you like, but I don't find that makes that much of a difference, but it's just the controls, the color controls that do make a big difference. So I'm going to click OK again, and then a little bit later on, I'm going to go back into the craft room and I'm going to show you this paper printed out with these settings on Epson matte paper. And I'm going to show you it also printed out on a different type of paper with the standard 0 settings, and just show, hopefully be able to see the difference on camera. So that's how I go about printing paper. And of course, you're not limited to paper either. You can print all kinds of things. You can print ephemera, sentiments, digital images, digital stamps. The sky's the limit, really. There are tons of wonderful companies out there who specialize in scrapbooking kits and digital scrapbooking kits. And if you go on Etsy and type in whatever kind of paper that you like, so go on Etsy and type in gingerbread digital paper, and you just have a ball. You just go to town like I do. And I have an out of control digital paper collection also, as well as hard copy paper. It's crazy. So I'm just going to close this off, and then before I go into the craft room, I'm just going to show you quickly how I go about printing digital images, especially if you have one of the button makers and you want to make flare buttons and you want to resize digital images to do that. I'm just going to let you in on how I go about doing that. So I've opened up one of my digital folders here, and this one is Polka Doodles. This is one of the Winnie collections. I love Polka Doodles. She is just adorable, Miss Winnie. So I'm going to pick one here and I'm going to copy and paste that and open it up in a blank document here. And again, I've taken off the margins for the document just to make it handy. I'm going to resize her way down. So in order to make flare buttons with digital images, I have the We Are Memory Keepers button maker, and it comes in 3 different sizes. There's a small, medium, and then the large one. So I printed out lots and lots of digital images just to work out what kind of size I needed for each size, what size the print needed to be so that it would fit in the die and fit in the button. And what I did was, when I worked it out which size for each, I made a template of 3 different images for each size. So whenever I'm making buttons now, I just use this template. So let's just say I want to make a medium-sized button. I'm going to take this medium image and I'm going to put it into my document here where Miss Winnie is, and I'm going to paste it in there. So I'm going to scale this one down to be the exact same size then, a little bit smaller. So I know that that is the size I need to print her at for a medium. So I can delete the template then. I'm going to move her over a little bit on the page, and I'm going to move her down as well because my die, I need room for my die to go around when I do print her out. So if I want more of her, then all I have to do is just copy and paste her. And I can make as many of her as I like. And that's how I do it, guys. I'm sure there are easier ways. I know there's lots of wonderful machines out there. There's the Brother Scan and Cut and Cricut and all of those kind of machines that do all of this for you. But I just find this way easier. I find it easy to just have a template there so that I can just rescale and resize it myself to suit the project, and I don't need to worry about numbers or measuring or anything like that. Obviously, you don't need to do, it doesn't have to be just for polka doodles. You can use any images you like, and it doesn't even have to be for the button maker. If you want to make ephemera and you want to make you want to batch make a lot of different tags or cards or things like that, I just find this really easy to have a template so that you know what size you need if you want to repeat make something. So I hope that all makes sense, guys. The thing with the button maker for me, I saw it years ago when it came out, and lots of people were sharing it on their channels and doing demos and making gorgeous little projects with it. And I looked at it and I thought, yeah, it's cute, but I don't think I would really use it. I think I'm not a scrapbooker, and I thought, like, flare buttons, kind of a scrapbooking thing. And then I saw Bona, who was Live Love Scrap on YouTube. She had used it for digital images and she had made polka doodle flares. And I already had tons of polka doodle digital collections in my stash. And once I saw that, it was like, OMG, I need the button maker in my life. So I got it, and I haven't looked back since I got it. I love it. It's a little bit fiddly when you start using it, like how what piece goes where and what you twist this to that and all that kind of thing. But it's very straightforward. It's like die cutting. It's like when you first got your die cutting machine or whatever it was that you had to really think about when you were doing it. And now you do it in your sleep. It's a bit like that with the button maker as well. But I really do love it, and it's great fun, especially for digital images like that. So I hope that helps you, especially if you do have the button maker and it's gathering dust in your stash, and or you've seen bonus flares or other people's flare buttons and thought, I'd love to make that, but I don't know how. That's how I go about resizing anyway. So let's go back into the craft room, and I'm going to show you the paper that I printed, and you can see for yourself the difference that a couple of little simple tweaks makes when it comes to printing. So for tip number 5, I'm going to have to put my money where my mouth is, really, and show you the results. And these are the 2 sheets that we've just printed out. Now, I don't know how well they're going to turn up on camera, but you might just have to trust me a little bit and hopefully try it out for yourself and see the results you can get in your own digital printing. This was printed on a fairly nice quality paper. This is from a brand. It's paper that's specifically for digital printing, for printing stamps and papers. And it's not bad results. If I hadn't seen this, I would be thinking, it's not bad. This is the way I used to print before I discovered this. And I was, like I said earlier, I was kind of happy enough, not great. If it came down to a choice between a store-bought paper pad and this, I would go with the store-bought paper pad. So this is the kind of results you can get. Whereas when I used the matte photo paper and tweaked the settings on my printer, this is the results I got. And this is every bit as beautiful as a scrapbook 12 by 12 sheet is, every bit as gorgeous and as quality. And I really love it ever since, I'm telling you, I know I'm repeating myself here, but ever since I've discovered how to do this, then it's as exciting for me as the postman coming with a package from scrapbook.com or something. I just love printing paper. I love paper, so whether it's printed or store-bought, I love it all. I'll turn them around and just show you the digital images as well. These are just some polka doodle images. Not bad results, decent enough. But this is, I really hope this is going to turn out on camera because it'll sound like I'm talking nonsense. But you will just have to trust me that the results are phenomenal. These are some of the buttons that I made, and this is the original, the old, the reasonable quality cardstock and my old 00 settings on the printer. And this is the upgraded settings on the printer without needing to upgrade your printer. And this is the upgraded results you get. So glaring, yes, it is glaring. Sorry about that, guys. But I hope you can see the difference. And I really do hope you try it out for yourselves because it's changed my world. It's opened up a whole new world of paper to me. Of course, you can go to town then and you can print out sentiments or anything you like. It doesn't have to be papers. You can print out to suit your own crafting. These are just some sentiments from the Arala store. And when you print them like this, this is why I like using the word processor. My cat. Oh, my cat it's dinner time for my cat and she's trying to knock down the light so that I can stop filming and feed her. Seriously. So sorry about that, guys. As I was saying, you can print out sentiments. You can resize the sentiments if you like. I've made them a bit bigger here to suit your own project. You can. This is why I also like to print on the word processor because you can crop and paste and print out the ones that you like, and you can change the sizes on one sheet and get the most out of your sheet of paper. These are just some more examples. I've resized here. This is one of my favorite from Bloom Street from a couple of years ago, and I wanted to make a small tag because they don't release 6x6 pads. So I just resized it here and printed it out and made some smaller tags with the smaller print. And I love that about digital. There are lots and lots of companies out there that offer digital collections, and some of them are paper collections as well. Any of the brands under the American Crafts umbrella. If you go on Snap Click Supply, you can get your Echo Park and your Cartabella, your Maggie Holmes, all of those, you can get them in digital. And that's one of the best things about digital. You have the papers forever. The flip side of that, of course, is that not all brands do offer digital releases of their collections, but the ones that do, it's fantastic because you can select the papers that you like and print as many of those as you like, so you never have to run out of paper and you don't have to hoard. Yay! We love that. Another thing I love is how cost effective it can actually be. It's surprising how cost effective it can be because you're not buying expensive ink and you're not buying an expensive printer. So I factored in the cost of my ink, and that varies as well depending on, like, if I print a whole sheet of embellishment pieces like this, it's not going to use as much ink as a whole full sheet like this. But roughly it works out for me about 80 cents per sheet of the per A4 sheet, roughly, give or take. And that's very, very reasonable as far as I'm concerned, because if you go on any of the big box websites, you'll pay over $1 for a 12 by 12 sheet. And okay, this is not a 12 by 12 sheet, it's slightly smaller, but I think it's like for like almost, you know. And some of the scrapbook papers are more than $1 a sheet, you know. Some of them run to 1.15 or whatever if you're not getting them in a sale. Now that I know how to print effectively with my little basic printer, then the cost isn't really a big factor for me when it comes to printing. So that's it for my top 5 tips today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you found it helpful, and do leave me comments down below, please. I'd love to get your feedback and let me know what you think of this video if you're going to try it out. And also share your thoughts with me as well about your own experiences with digital printing. Like, if you use different paper, you found different paper better for using, then let me know what you like to do in your own craft room, because as you know by now, I'll talk craft all day and all night, as you know by if you've read any of your comments boxes. I'm happy to chat always about crafting. So thanks for watching, and a quick shout out as well to all my lovely friends who are on the other side of the Atlantic Ocean. I know this is a big week for you guys. We don't celebrate Thanksgiving here in Ireland, but I know that it's a big deal over there. So I hope you all have a very, very blessed and wonderful Thanksgiving wherever you are in the world. If you're celebrating it, I hope you have a lovely time. So take care out there, guys, and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye.